transpired in the previous 5 years, which I will make mention of. But you know, it is God that decides the ultimate end of what happens. It is not man. I want to thank my family, because I believe, Madam Speaker, my family may be among one of the families who have suffered the most politically in this country in being attacked from every side. I want to thank more so the constituents of Castries Southeast, Madam Speaker, who suffered for the last 5 years at the hands of the St. Lucia Labour Party, who did everything, and they didn't just do it, Madam Speaker, they said whatever it takes to see that I do not make it back to this honorable house. But you know, Madam Speaker, there are lessons to be learned in life. Today he occupies my seat on the opposite side. I am on this side. That's a lesson, Madam Speaker. You see, those who feel it, they are the ones who know it. And the people of Castries Southeast, I am proud of you, because you stood with me during the onslaught of the last St. Lucia Labour Party reign in government. Madam Speaker, God knows my heart more than anybody else, more than I know it. And God knows that I love the people of St. Lucia, and more so the people of Castries Southeast. You know, Madam Speaker, some of the things I've had to endure in this house, and as parliamentary rep for Castries Southeast, is beyond maybe what any parliamentarian have faced in this country. Madam Speaker, I begged, I pleaded, I asked, I wrote, and I got nothing. I remember I told them, Madam Speaker, give me 1/4 of what I used to give to y'all when I was in government and y'all were in opposition, and I would be happy. And I got nothing. Madam Speaker, I have a challenge for them in this honorable house today. Everything they gave me for my constituency, I will give them double the amount for their constituency. Everything. And I hold myself accountable. This Labour Party comes to this honorable house and behave as if for the last 20 years they have been in opposition. When you hear the things they are asking for, you would think that they have never been in government. But the facts will speak for itself, Madam Speaker. I thank the people of St. Lucia for their prayers. All of you who have prayed for me. I'm not where I need to be yet, Madam Speaker. I'm still a work in progress. And if anybody knows that well, my wife who's seated right here knows that. And she knows because she has had to endure a lot in terms of what is said about me. But if anybody knows me, she does. And she knows that 90% of the things they say are not true. I'll never say 100% is not true. I'll not say that. Madam Speaker, yes, we've been using 90%, and I will come to that during my presentation. You know, Madam Speaker, every morning when I wake up, before I leave my home, my wife and myself, we kneel together and we pray as husband and wife. And And because I was speaking today, she is the one who prayed this morning and prayed for me. You see, Madam Speaker, people look at you and they feel that they can say what they want. Because you don't have title and you don't have name and you didn't go to the universities that they went to, they believe that you are less than a person. They want to treat my colleague from Ancillary Canaries in a certain way because of his height and his size. And you know, weak men do that. Strong men don't do that. You don't attack people on their stature that they have no control over. You have to deal with the issues. We have a budget before us, Madam Speaker. The future of this country is in our hands. That is what we are here. And so I thank God for St. Lucia. I know I love this country more than anywhere else in the world. I've never 10 has an interest in St. Lucia. I have. Not because I didn't get opportunities to be elsewhere, but because this is where I chose to be. And so, Madam Speaker, I will not keep quiet in this honorable house. I will say what must be said, how I think I have to say it. I don't know how to do it different, Madam Speaker. I don't know how to do it different. I was made to suffer for 5 years, Madam Speaker. And these men who are on the opposition today, they were in government. But you see, every time they're in government, they sing a different song. And when they're in opposition, it's government of national unity, is fairness across the table, is let's be equitable in everything that we do. Now, I am being more than equitable. I challenge any member of the St. Lucia Labour Party to come and show me what you did for the people of Castries Southeast through me. And I will double it for you. All the CDP projects you all want, I am doubling it, what you all did for me. Isn't that fair, Madam Speaker? 100% increase. You know, Madam Speaker, it is easy for people to talk. It's easy. And I want to remind them that they were in government just 10 months ago. So when they start talking about all the roads they need fixed, you are there for 5 years, you didn't fix the road. It's not a year I'm there, you tell me I have to fix the roads already. You should come and see, take a drive up to Forest here and see the condition of the road. Because you allocated $1 million for road repairs in the country. When you increase license fees, and you said the $3 million you are raising was to fix the roads, where the other $2 million went to? Tell the people of St. Lucia. So, Madam Speaker, to respond to a few issues, I heard a certain member mention about schoolmaster and people got vexed, as if that's an offense to call somebody a schoolmaster. I thought that would be a privilege to be called a schoolmaster. But you know, Madam Speaker, they know what schoolmaster meant in this case. Now, we hear about respect for people in this honorable house. What has this Prime Minister done that makes him a tyrant in this country? That the members opposite want to call him a tyrant when they have been masters all of their life. You know, Madam Speaker, our budget presentation was called a contradiction. But I'll come to the contradiction. I've heard so much about firing nice workers. I challenge the members opposite to show me the nice workers who are fired. bring the list of nice workers who were fired by the government. But I'm happy the member for Viewfort South, and I knew he wouldn't stay there. But as the member for Viewfort North said yesterday, Commission Akayen Metli. Commission oblige hen metli. Yes. So they can sit in the comfort of their homes and take the leak so that people don't see. But when I was there, they wanted me to sit there. And they used to tell the speaker, make him sit there. Madam Speaker, not you. You wasn't speaker then. You know, Madam Speaker, I heard them talking about what should happen. I heard the member for Dennery North speak about constituency council. At least you are given the opportunity to appoint somebody. Castries Southeast Constituency Council for the 5 years that I was parliamentary representative. Now, why are you all crying victimization? Why is there so much cry about victimization? Because you all know you all victimize people, so you're all afraid of being victimized. We are not a government of victimization. We are a government of fairness. So if you call fairness victimization, well, that's your interpretation. For that matter, the member for Castries South said, I'm too backward to understand certain things. Maybe that may be so. But I understand how to win elections without Jufali money. You know, Madam Speaker, you know, into these issues and then because they came up in the budget. The member for Dennery South was asked to withdraw a statement that he made about an account. Madam Speaker, I am responding to this issue and I'm making it a document of the House. It's National Lotteries Authority 148th meeting of the Board of Directors of the National Lotteries Authority held on the 16th of November 2012. Page 2, second paragraph. All allocations of NLA funds, second sentence, the next step would then be developing a formula that would assist in regularizing the account in the amount in the minister's account. Not my words. National Lotteries Board meeting. Minister's account. So I don't know if he was the signatory of the account, but it was his account and that's what the minutes of the meeting shows. So you want to have more, Madam Speaker? Ministers want further allocation. It is suggested that the disbursement into the minister's account, that's on page 2 again, Madam Speaker, on the minister's 2012, did not reflect the amount requested. This may have been a communication error. Director James stated that indicated that on a minimum deposit of $200,000, he may agree to a review of his allocation from 1/3 to 1/5 of the shares of the national. Now you see, Madam Speaker, people must not come to this honorable House and make statements as if we don't know what we are talking about.
Honorable Member, this is a tickling issue, and may I suggest you humbly, as quickly as possible, provide copies of this document that I may read it, because it will have implications. If it suggests that what I have asked the member for Dennery South to refute and to be struck off the record has to get back on the record, it will get back on the record. So I need to get it, please. And every member, when we say making documents of the House, I need honorable members to acknowledge and respect that it's not for one to just have it and then send it. Make adequate copies, so as you speak to that the Sergeant at Arms can actually make copies immediately available to members, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I have all 17 copies here. The Sergeant of Arms can make it a document of the House, Madam Speaker.
When you went and did all that?
Madam Speaker, I have the 17 copies of the letters also that was written by the minister requesting that the account be established. I make that a document of the House, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, further, Madam Speaker, on a meeting held on the 13th of June 2012, 5:18 p.m. to 8:48 p.m. at the NLA conference room. And here's what the minutes. Other matters arising. Special account and the allocation for the Minister of Youth Development and Sports should read special account in the allocation of the funds. So, Madam Speaker, now, do I blame the minister? Did he know better? Where is the Minister of Finance who always want, and Madam Speaker, all the copies are available. I'm making document of the House. You see, Madam Speaker, it is easy to point fingers at people and to say this person is doing this and that person is doing that. Now, sometimes we come into government and in our ignorance of all of the things pertaining to government, you expect those who are senior to you to guide you. Where was the Minister of Finance to direct the Minister of Sports and to tell him that you cannot have an account in the minister's name? Madam Speaker, how can you have a minister's account?
Madam Speaker, I want to rise on Standing Order 45.5. The member is imputing improper motives when he suggests that there is an account in the minister's name. When I attempted to address that matter earlier on, I made it categorically clear, Madam Speaker, that there is no account and there is no record to substantiate in any bank in St. Lucia that there is an account in the name of the National Lotteries Authority or any of the agencies that were under my ministerial watch called a minister's account. And it was only for ease of reference that a particular account over which I directed expenditure to expedite projects was referred to as a minister's account. And he is implying that there was an account in my name as minister. And as I said earlier on, that never existed. And it is a practice, Madam Speaker, that had been done previously, where a particular account with a certain amount of money was used to expedite projects that the minister would have felt at the time would have been necessary.
Honorable Member for Castries Southeast, please turn off your mic. Honorable Member for Dennery North. I am in receipt of a document, the 148th meeting of the Board of Directors of the National Lotteries Authority. Do you have that document, sir? Okay, dated 16th November 2012. I refer you to the first paragraph of page 2, matters arising, under the cap heading, matters arising. I am asking for an minister's 1/3 allocation. The first paragraph reads, it is suggested that the disbursement into the minister's account, pardon? It was suggested that the disbursement, thank you, into the minister's account did not reflect the amount requested. This may have been a communication error. Director James stated that in a conversation with the minister indicated that on a minimum deposit of $200,000, he may agree to a review of his allocation from a 1/3 to a 1/5 share of NLA funds. Now, there is clear reference there to the minister's account. What does that mean? I just need some
Madam Speaker, I have attempted on several occasions to explain what is meant by the minister's account. I have stated previously, today, as I did yesterday, that there is no account at any bank called the minister's account. It is just for purposes of referencing the different accounts. There's a particular account, Madam Speaker, from which monies would have been deposited, and the minister would have provided direct oversight in terms of what the money was supposed to have been used for. But the minister, or the member for Castries South East, is trying to give the impression that there was an account set up in the minister's name and that the minister used to disburse monies from that account, and that never happened. And that is imputing improper motives.
Okay, we got the clarification on that. Perhaps then, on hindsight, do you think now, with all of this confusion, that it may have been incorrect to name it the minister's account, perhaps?
Madam Speaker, I am stating again that there is no record at any bank with any account that is known as the minister's account.
I heard that, Honourable Member. But there seem to be some fund or funds available in the ministry called a minister's account, because there is record of a minister's account, right? And this may be what is creating all of the confusion. There is specific reference to a minister's account. So it is an operational. So I heard, for example, earlier on in this House that the member for Grosley and also the member for Dennery South saying that the practice was stopped immediately. Now I will refer, honourable members, is that correct? Dennery South and Grosley. What practice was stopped? Bear with me, because it appears that we're almost having a court session. That is not the intention.
When I became minister responsible for youth development and sports, I understood that such an account existed, and I said I don't want to have anything to do with that. So, I mean, I cannot tell you specifically what happened, but I know nothing about that, because I asked that I'm not going to use any such account.
Such an account existed where, how? I needed clarification, because you see, if documentation is produced to refute something that has been taken off the records, and it was taken off the record wrongly, then it needs to be put back on the record. So it puts us, I just want members to appreciate what I'm trying to say. Earlier on, a member was asked to withdraw his statement because improper motives was imputed. But it was all to do with a minister's account as well. So if, for example, now information now has been produced or evidence deduced to show that there is on the record documents and documents referring to a minister's account, we cannot then refute that a minister's account did not exist. That is my difficulty. That is the difficulty that I have with it. Let us proceed, Honourable Member for Castries South East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I will move on from this because I've made the point, Madam Speaker. I hope I am given my fair share of time, Madam Speaker. We spend quite a bit of time on this. But Madam Speaker.
Honourable Member, with all due respect, sorry, we will turn the clock back 10 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Because I took your time to clarify some things. Okay?
Thank you, Madam
Understood? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, the point I'm making is, when we come to this Honourable House, and we're going to give information to the people of St. factual about the information that we are giving. And Madam Speaker, I have in my hand here millions of dollars that was spent by the National Lotteries Authority. I will deal with that in the policy debate so the member can have sufficient time. I'm giving notice, Madam Speaker, that they can have sufficient time to respond appropriately. Because, Madam Speaker, on the Marigo playing field, I heard the member for Castries South said we need, what, $20,000 to finish what is going on there. Madam Speaker, I saw the construction of the Marigo playing field changing room facility, $155,000. I saw another place, Marigo playing field changing room facility, $462,477. And I saw Ada Inc. as the consultant. And I know, well, from my research, I know Ada Inc. seem to be in this Honourable House. But, Madam Speaker, we will come to this as we go along. Because the extraction of funds from what should go to the youth of St. Lucia, and they better be ready to answer, you know, Madam Speaker. Because I'm coming to the estimates of expenditure. The budget that they have criticized so heavily. We will see why we are where we are today, Madam Speaker. It's not by accident we get to where we are. It is mismanagement of the previous government administration. And you need to see how many million. Madam Speaker, if you see the 2x4, if you see the 2x4 changing facility that costs $600,000, now there's another $400,000 that's spent on the surface of the playing field, you know. And I recall under the previous UWP administration, when the member for Grozile was Minister of Sports, we had upgraded the Marigo playing field. But you know what they do? They combine number of fields together. So they combine the mon and they combine this and then they put a whole set of money. They did a little field in Twapito. If you see the thing, it's not the size of this table. $300,000. $150,000. But Madam Speaker, we come in to show why St. Lucia is where it is today and why the member for Beaufort North could not stay here. He pretends that he is the guru for finance in this country. January, Beaufort South, yes. Now, how did we get to where we are? Madam Speaker, this country, you know, I heard about the debt situation, and I heard them crying about, you know, the deficit in the budget. Of course we have to have a deficit in the budget, Madam Speaker. But this government is making the right decision in dealing with the deficit from early. And Madam Speaker, on the summary page of the budget, it highlights what our situation is. But we didn't get there by accident, Madam Speaker. They know that they mismanage. So how did we get here, Madam Speaker? How did we get to where we are? In 2006, Madam Speaker, when the UWP assumed office, the debt of St. Lucia, the national debt stood at $1,003,000. In 2011, when we left office, the national debt was at $2,082,875,000. A difference of about $655 million. Madam Speaker, the member for Castries South said, we borrowed $900 million. That is true. We borrowed $900 million. But you see the facts, the part of the information he left out is that about $300 million of that was rollover of debt because they had closed the sinking fund that used to exist when Sir John was Prime Minister. So when Labour Party came in 1997, there was no more sinking fund, and there were about 10 loans with no sinking fund. So when these loans became mature, we had no choice but to roll over the debt. So while we borrowed the actual impact on the debt, it's in the social and economic reviews, Madam Speaker. But you see, conveniently, they give you a piece of the information and they make you believe, yes, we borrowed all of that money. We were better managers and we will always be better managers. Now, Madam Speaker, let us look at the circumstances that existed. Now, Madam Speaker, remember this is a 1.5 billion budget with about 200 million in deficit. So I am establishing how we got there. Not by accident, and not by the doings of the United Workers' Party. When we managed the economy of this country from 2006 onward, Madam Speaker, you would recall the financial crisis. First of all, we had Hurricane Dean as soon as we came into office. We had the financial crisis. The price of fuel went to $150 a barrel. We were subsidizing fuel. At the pump, the fuel was still $12.75 a gallon. We had the drought, and then we had Thomas. And that is when we ran into a deficit. We had the Denry flood 2 weeks before Thomas itself. Madam Speaker, during that time we subsidized fuel. We subsidized rice, flour and sugar. And we had to do most of the rehabilitation works after Thomas with no funding from outside of St. Lucia. With all of that, Madam Speaker, we only increased the debt by about $600 million. So ask yourself, now, you have to put things in context and you have to compare it with different periods of time. So let's go on. In 2011, the debt stood at $2,082,000,000, so we round it off to $2 billion. SLP in 2016, based on the budget, the debt had gone to $2.988 billion. So about $1 billion in borrowing in 4.5 years. Now you may tell me, what's the problem with borrowing $1 billion? Well, let's put that in context, Madam Speaker. Because they like context. They say a den of contradictions, but the dean of the den has left. $1.4 billion collected in VAT from 2012. Now remember, under UWP they did not have VAT. So I'm putting the $1 billion borrowing in context. Après you put $1 billion. $1 billion, c'est $1,000,000. They got 1.4 billion collection in UP. They increased water by 66.5%. They reduced the subsidy on rice, flour and sugar. They increased the license fees. They increased the service charge at customs from 5% to 6%, which is equivalent to a 20% increase. They moved the storage of fuel from the Hess facility, then it was Hess, now it's Buckeye, from 20 cents a gallon to $1 a gallon. It went to 50 cents first, and then it went to $1. Now you think that's all they did? Speaker, all of that they did, they still borrowed $1 billion. Now, if I can even calculate how many billion you get in from all of this, and the Labour Party, who pretends that they are the best managers of the economy, still increase the price. How much did fuel go to? Fuel never reached $140 under their watch. But a gallon of fuel reached $15.85 under the watch of the St. Lucia Labour Party. And then they allocate $1 million for fixing the roads. And you tell me that's economic management? Now let me say something to our people in St. Lucia. When you hire a bad manager, when you give the wrong man to run your business must go down. And that is what has happened to this country. And there's no magic wand that the UWP can wave and fix this economy overnight. But now we have a prime minister who understands the economy, who knows the tough decisions that we have to make, and who decided that, look here, we're going back to a zero-based budget. We're not cutting and pasting budget again. You want money to run a ministry, you have to be able to justify.
That's it.
That's right.
That is what governance is about.
That's right.
And so they tell you business-like approach. But if you don't have a business-like approach towards government, it's going to go bankrupt. So, Madam Speaker, if you look at the debt profile of this country, the debt profile of this country is, you round it off to $1 billion. From 1979 to now. Labour has borrowed $2 billion and UWP $1 billion. So ask yourself, what has the Labour Party done with the $2 billion that they have borrowed? When almost everything you see in St. Lucia was there before they came into office in 1997. You want to tell me you all are managers? I will give you all to be in charge of my country. Madam Speaker, in 2006 to 2011, now how did we get there? The fiscal position of this country, interest payments, Madam Speaker. That's what they don't understand. I had a member for Castries South want to tell me about he understands the economy. You know, somebody sent me a text message. You know what they said? The West Indies cricketers under his watch made more money in court than they made playing cricket. I showed him the text. Madam Speaker, so you want to give me a lesson in economics? What lesson you give it in economics? You know, under the UWP, the interest payments grew by $30 million between 2006 to 2011. Prudence, fiscal management, good governance, Madam Speaker. That's what it was about. From 2011 to 2016, when they call elections, up by $6 to $63 million. $63 million, Madam Speaker. Now ask yourself, so you think it's by accident that these things happen? But you see, Madam Speaker, they were managing the economy so bad, they could not sell the bonds on the market. Now, bonds come sometimes at a higher interest rate than treasury bills. But I will explain, Madam Speaker. If you take an offering on a bond at 7% or 6%, and every year you pay the 6%. If you take it on a treasury bill, Madam Speaker, On a treasury bill, you may get 3.5%, but it turns over every 90 days. So by the time you go through 1 year, you are 12 or 15%. That is what you all cannot understand as to how we got to where we are. And the former Minister of Finance would not stay there because he does not know the value of money. He cannot manage money, Madam Speaker. So they went and they converted. We moved from $42 million, and it's in the Social and Economic Review, Madam Speaker. We moved from $42 million in treasury bills. I'll give you the page before they say I don't know what I'm talking about. Page 101, Madam Speaker. Treasury bills. 42,679,000 in 2011. You know in 2016 what it is? 438 million. Treasury bills. So you think it just happened that interest payments skyrocketed? So think of it. This $60 million that we are paying in interest payments. Now that's not all the interest payments, you know. That's in addition to what was there already. So our interest payments on loans. Now for people who know what I'm talking about, and for those who don't know, let me break it down. Madam Speaker, là pour un loan à Baclan. Si pour gagner un motocar, pour faire caille, pour acheter choté, ou pour payer l'intérêt. 165 million n'a pas parlé about là, c'est juste l'intérêt ou ça. L'argent nous prêter à personne pour payer des soins sous ça ou ça. So c'est just l'intérêt. Every year we are paying $100 and almost $70 million in interest payments, and the principal of the loan has not been touched. And these men come to this honorable house, Madam Speaker. The members opposite, and they boast about how well they manage the economy. That's why American reset. That's how you all run a business. And you praising the operations of that business. Madam Speaker, when you have so much interest payments to make, how you paying the loan itself? Ou nous pas même ni assez l'argent pour payer l'intérêt. En qui l'année nous pay principal. Now, Madam Speaker, I worked it out, you know. And if you recall previously in my previous life in the United Workers' Party when we were in government, I did a breakdown, and it's in Hansard, of what every St. Lucian was owing when the Labour Party left office in 2006. It was about $8,000 to $9,000. You know when they left office in 2016? It's about $17,000 chaque St. Lucien. Ti mama la ki fait après-midi à l'hôpital. Haka doué $18,000 about management Labour Party. You comprend? Madam Speaker, that is the reality. And then you want UWP to come into office and all of a sudden money falling from the sky. We never said money would fall from the sky. We said that we are going to manage the economy. And if you want to know, I heard the member for Viewfort South say it's time for us to come together to make a resolution as to how we're going to control the debt situation in this country. Madam Speaker, I make this a document of the House. The United Workers' Party 2016 manifesto. Building a new St. Lucia. Page 9. Draw up legislation to limit the total primary and current expenditure. We didn't have to wait. When we were in opposition, we were not thinking about how we win in the election. We knew we were winning the election. So we were preparing, so when we get in here, we can begin to govern. You want to know what we said again in there? Set ceilings or floors on revenues with the aim of boosting revenue collection and of preventing an excessive tax burden. Madam Speaker, it's there. It's there, Madam Speaker. So when the member for Castries East want to come and tell you how he we can't meet our interest payments. Y'all couldn't open the hospital. The economy was bright. I heard the member for Viewport South. You'd think he's somebody that just won his seat the first time. 15 years Prime Minister, and today you realize people cannot pay their health bills at the hospital.
And you want another report?
And you want another report. You want another committee.
Can you imagine?
Are you serious about the governance of this country? Are you serious about fixing the mess that you have created? Now, Madam Speaker, they tell you about performance. Since after Hurricane Thomas, we started negotiating with the World Bank the money for DVRP. Who wants to claim it? They can claim it. Because we started building a bridge in Sufra, they run and open it and they say it's they that build the bridge. I ain't claiming nothing that's not mine. You see what I did? I lay claim on my performance. So if you all are the ones who found the funds for DVRP, no problem. But I know that the negotiations with the World Bank, after we did the assessment of the damage of Thomas, which was almost $1 billion in damage, that some funds were committed, and you know how these international agencies work. Now, what he did not tell the House, Madam Speaker, is that $72 million has been approved under DVRP for how long? How many years? And after 5 years in office, they only implemented $20 million worth of projects out of the 72 million US. Now the 72 million works out to about 194 million EC dollars. Madam Speaker, yo ten tout l'argent ça là pour yo ça dépenser pour faire bail. Now, ou savek World Bank, ou pas faire ça avec l'argent yo. There are procurement guidelines, so yo pas melek ça. That's not their priority because they cannot do what they want, how they want. But all during that time, they're giving design, finance, construct projects to everybody. And the money is there to be used to fix St. Lucia, has not been fixed. Well, if you look in the estimates, on page 505, you would see that in this financial year, we would be spending a minimum of $27 million from that DVRP project. And I will come back and report next year. You all want to judge the budget before it's implemented? Come to this debate again. You'll have plenty of time to judge the budget. So what you spent, what it took you 5 years to spend to fix things in this country, I will do it in 1 year under the administration of this United Workers' Party. Because this is a government of performance, not a government of excuses. So, Madam Speaker, and you can see it on Code 205, $27,471,553 would be spent on the DVRP. Now, Madam Speaker, you know, I've heard so much talk about national trust. I want to deal with that, but I want to deal with it in the policy debate because I don't want it to take too much from this. But this morning, that people are making a big fuss about, Madam Speaker, everybody, I had to want to do, how you want to do it, and we will see how much money you can get. You know how much I got? 3.5. 3.5. So when I hear about cuts and people being asked to justify and they want to play like the Prime Minister is insensitive to this and that, I want to ask the National Trust, those of you who speak for the National Trust, the National Trust can speak for itself. But anytime organizations use politicians in the forefront and they get themselves tainted politically, people begin to question what they do. And the member for Castries, he said, if Canaries is a landmark, because y'all have been picking on the people in ancillary Canaries for the longest while. Yes. You ask whether Canaries is a landmark, but you already said people who said, how would Dominic and the then leader of the United Workers' Party communicate to the people of Jacmel, as if the people in that area don't understand English. That is how y'all, you know, when you do not have an argument, keep quiet. Do not attack people personally. Now you want to attack him on his size and his height. So is that why y'all got rid of Pep? Was he too shocked to be a member of the Labour Party? Do you have to, you know, it says a lot about these people, you know, Madam Speaker. It says a lot about them. Y'all made the poor man suffer. Y'all did nothing for him because of his height. Well, we don't treat people because based on their height and their size. Everybody is treated equally around this table under a United Workers' Party government. That's what it's about. So I want to ask those who are advocating on behalf of the National Trust, I want to know whether the snakes at Frigate Island are different
From the snakes.
or whether the snakes at Maria Islet were more precious than the snakes at Frigate Island. Because when the atrocities took place where the La Paradis is, where was the National Trust? What did they say? And there used to be a trail. Because I went there as a young person and you could see the snakes hanging, the boa constrictor on the branches. What happened to them? So you all went and killed all the snakes in Dennery. But now you want to preserve the snakes in Maria Islet. And I don't have a problem with preserving the snakes at Maria Islet. But let's be consistent. Let's be consistent. You couldn't preserve the cows at Bossejou. Is the snakes you want to preserve? All the cows you got at the road going to your home disappeared. Under your watch from 1997. Tell the people where the cows went to. You know, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker? No, not 1997, 2001. Madam Speaker, tell them that's the road you pass in going to your home. Tell them what happened to the cows. All the new bloodlines that the former Minister of Agriculture brought, where are they? You know, Madam Speaker, people must stop playing games and we must call a spade a spade. If I have to make a choice between the snakes at Maria Islet and the unemployed mother that you all want to come and cry here for, I will make the choice for the unemployed mother to get a job, to be able to feed her children and go to school. And that does not make me against snakes.
I can tell you that.
We're not touching anything. We're just developing Viewfort. That's all we do. We're not touching anything. We are developing Viewfort. We can develop Viewfort in the air. We can develop. And when you talk about Murray Islet, do you have passage to go to Murray Islet? Have you written to Grindberg to seek permission that when you all were in office, you all sold the entire 83 million kilometers of seabed to Grindberg?
There'll be no skyscraper on Sandy Beach. Never.
That is what we need to talk about. You find your voice now, talk. When the member for Barbados was speaking, you couldn't talk. Okay. Madam Speaker, when you see politicians try to capitalize. Sorry.
I wish to remind members in the gallery, including behind me and to my front, that you are here at the pleasure of the members of the Honorable House, and I will have no outbursts from you, neither this side. No outbursts, please. This is their domain, and they will laugh and shout how they want, but you are not free to do so. Okay? Please proceed, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. 2 more minutes, Madam Speaker, and then to my time. Madam Speaker, you know, as politicians, we must never use the privilege of having information at our disposal to mislead the people of St. Lucia. And when I see members of the St. Lucia Labour Party, Madam Speaker, at the last sitting of the House, not the last sitting, a couple sittings before, we borrowed some money on behalf of SLASPA for the dolphin berth at Point Seraphim. You know what some members did, Madam Speaker? They went and they told the people of St. Lucia, you put $15 million for dolphin park. Madam Speaker, the dolphin berth is the area to anchor the ships that have nothing to do with the dolphin park. But they use that because they had dolphin. That is how you're going to use the privilege of information to mislead the people of St. Lucia, to make them believe the dolphin berth that is to anchor the bigger ships that come in at Point Seraphim, to tell them that gouvernement a payé $15 million pour faire dolphin park. And they have that circulating all on social media, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, that's not the point of order of clarification. The minister is continuing to do that.
Honorable Member, are you standing on a point of order? That's what I'm asking.
Yes. The minister is misleading the House, Madam Speaker. The Labour Party was not even in the House when that happened. When the dolphin wrestling bill was discussed, we were not in the House. We had walked out of the House. So the minister is misleading the House. We were not here. So what he's saying is hearsay. He can't put that in the record. That is hearsay. We were not in the House when it happened. We walked out.
Honorable Member, you see, I need to make that clarification. Please, Honorable Members, I will refer you again to Standing Order 34. When you put on your mic, you either say you are standing on a point of order or point. If you are standing on a point of elucidation, the member need not yield under. So there are two points of standing orders to stand on. Under 32, there is a point of 32.6. There is the point of order. You may want to elucidate on a matter that you are certain you are asserting that has been misinterpreted. Now, this is a point of elucidation at which point the member standing need not yield. So there is the difference, the subtle difference in that. And so when you put on your mic, you need to indicate what point of standing order, because the other member, you may be disrupting a member that does not want to yield to you.
5 more minutes.
Please proceed, Honorable Member.
No, Madam Speaker, thank you, Madam Speaker. And you know, the member for Castries is, Madam Speaker, all the stories he telling the people in the House. I wonder where is the point to back it up. But I'm not worried about that. Madam Speaker, I need to move on because there's so much.
Sorry, sir. Before you move on, I need to indicate to you that you have 15 more minutes within which to conclude. And that includes the additional 10 minutes that was granted to you because of the interruption. Okay? So you have 15 minutes within which to complete your presentation. Yes, Honorable Member for Babonneau.
Madam Speaker, I beg to invoke Standing Order 4210 to allow the member for Castries South East another 30 minutes.
Honorable members, the question is that Standing Order 3210 be suspended. Bear with me, please. The question, in order to allow the member for Castries South East an additional 30 minutes within which to conclude his presentation. I now put the question. As many as are of that opinion, say aye. Aye. As many as are of contrary opinion, say no. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it. Honorable member, you were due to end at 8:55. That is with the 10 minutes previously. We're adding 30 minutes to that, in which case you are now due to end at 9:20. Is that correct? 9:25. 9:25.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I make reference to this, I want to quote from the budget speech of 2014, Madam Speaker. Page 75, number 9.2.1. With handover of the site expected before year end, the activities related to the government of St. Lucia's counterpart construction are anticipated to commence in May 2014, with the largest deliverable, construction of the cafeteria, to be completed early 2014. Now, I'm making reference to the OKEU hospital to make the point. Madam Speaker, that was the budget speech. And I heard the member for Viewfort North ask me about St. Jude Hospital. He spent 5 years in this house. I didn't hear he ask his government one question about St. Jude Hospital. Not one. But Madam Speaker, this is the budget speech of the former Prime Minister, Dr. Kenny Anthony, 2014. So this is what he said about OKEU Hospital. That this hospital, Madam Speaker, he said the cafeteria would be completed in early 2014. Madam Speaker, you know as I speak today, the cafeteria is not completed yet. When this UWP government came into office, Madam Speaker, we commissioned to get the work done and have been given the assurance that it would be completed by May of this year. Now, I know the member for Beaufort South have a problem with checking, so I don't know if he mistake the May of 2013 with May 2017. But, Madam Speaker, this is the budget speech. Now, here's what was said about St. Jude. The St. Jude Hospital reconstruction project is progressing but at a pace that none of us could applaud. And then he goes on to say, when this project was first conceived, the amount was 33.8 million. 33.8 million was allocated for it. It quickly became unclear that the hospital could not be partially restored, but that the entire property had to be demolished in parts and rebuilt. Demolished and rebuilt. They didn't demolish, but they tried to rebuild. And when I carried out the commission of inquiry and I said what should happen, everybody throwing their hands in the air. What are you talking about? Well, here it is in your report. So the former government increased the allocation towards the construction of the hospital to $46.4 million. You remember what happened with the meat processing plant? You gave the facts. Look at same type of management, same set of government, same set of people in the government. Can you expect different? How can you expect different? If you continue to put the same people to run the country, what difference can you expect? What's the definition for insanity? Well, Madam Speaker, I go to budget speech 2014. That's why the member would not stay here. Page 48, number 313. Let me read, Madam Speaker, number 313. Now, Madam Speaker, you have to excuse me because at the time it was Mr. Speaker, so I'm reading. Mr. Speaker, modern health infrastructure is vital to the delivery of quality health care. By 2015, listen to this, Madam Speaker. That was the then Prime Minister, Dr. Kenny Anthony, member for Beaufort South. Mr. Speaker, modern health infrastructure is vital to the delivery of quality health care. By 2015, St. Lucia will open 2 brand new hospitals which stand as monumental investment in our future as a country. 2015. In fact, by the end of next year, St. Lucia will have the most modern, perhaps best equipped secondary health infrastructure in the Eastern Caribbean. That was said by the then Prime Minister in 2014. End of quote, Madam Speaker. Now, Madam Speaker, these are the people who want to come to this house and beat their chests about governance. 3 MPs, Madam Speaker. Labrie, Beaufort North, Beaufort South. Spent 5 years in this house. Remember, Madam Speaker, we have an allocation of 19 million. They went and had a meeting at the gate of St. Jude's after about a year after the fire and say, give the people of Beaufort their hospital. Madam Speaker, you spent 6 on yo pa bay se moun nan l'hôpital. Yo pa bay yo l'hôpital. And the member for Beaufort North comes in here and says to us, the people who are affected and the families who lost loved ones. And I'm always very, because it's not the families, but I'm making a point about how some politicians behave, Madam Speaker. The insincerity of some people. 23rd of May 2016. Cabinet conclusion number 341. Madam Speaker, I can make it a document of the House. Proposal for ex gratia payment for compensation of deaths of the persons, and I will not go into mentioning the details. 23rd of May, 2016, they took a decision with a cabinet conclusion. Yo hen lahan pour an election, mais yo pa hen lahan pour baisse moun na, qui te supposé hen lahan. Now you think that's all they did on the 23rd of May? You know what it reads? The following cabinet conclusion was submitted for your attention. Authority to act on behalf of cabinet. Cabinet granted the Prime Minister the authority to act on its behalf with respect to the matters requiring cabinet approval before the general elections of 6 June 2016. A cabinet of ministers, the executive of government, mandated to manage the affairs of this country, took a decision among themselves to give one man who has a very bad track record in decision making in this country. He sold a seabed. He went into the Rochamel arrangement. All kinds of questionable things that he has done in his time. You by carte blanche. Fait salvele. Ou se Prime Minister et ou se whole cabinet là. Every cabinet member gave his authority to the then Prime Minister to make whatever decision he wanted on behalf of the cabinet.
And they were all in favor.
And you want to talk about governance? So among the decisions you gave him to make, you didn't tell him pay the people. But we will pay them, you know, because we're not like you all. I have checks there that I will show you of people from the Babono Constituency Council who did work for the government of St. Lucia. You all went, you all visited the work. You all saw the work that was done. And then you all stopped the payments. After 5 years, these people have a check holding in their hand and they cannot cash it. And you talk about victimization. You all have the heart to come in this house and talk about victimization. Madam Speaker, they fired all the city council workers when they came into office. Today you want to blame you, Baldas, in the government. Collective responsibility. Collective responsibility. All of us. Collective responsibility. So, Madam Speaker, in 2013, and I have to say that to the people of St. Lucia again, we allow a government we elected to go and perform a big ceremony to name a building, and the hospital is still closed today. That's governance. Madam Speaker, I would be ashamed of that. I would be ashamed of that. You know why? But we just finishing the work. The work that you promised to finish, the cafeteria, the laundry, the surrounding, we are now finishing the work. L'hôpital qui had 95% complete. Hot en abattoir qui a fini, hot pat sa ouvert. Right now, we came in, and in 10 months, we have been able to almost complete the work that you could not do in 5 years to open the hospital. That is what good governance is about. Now, Madam Speaker, so you see in the budget speech, these speeches don't mean nothing. They don't mean nothing. Every year they say the same thing, as if we forget what they said the year before. 3 years, Madam Speaker, hospital finished. One little cafeteria that was our responsibility as St. Lucia, a laundry and a restaurant remained undone after 3 years, 5 years of Labour Party. And you know what, Madam Speaker? They are the ones who chose the contractor and gave direct award for the contract. And the contractors could not deliver. Now I come to St. Jude's, Madam Speaker. How did we get to where we are on St. Jude? I will make, Madam Speaker, I can make this a document of the House, Madam Speaker. This one I didn't have time to print it. Now, Madam Speaker, in 2011, here's what the consultant did. You are hereby advised that your submission for equipment and furniture is approved, subject to the changes as detailed above. Please proceed to initiate the procurement procedures to expedite shipping of the goods. Madam Speaker, in 2011, we were asking for expedited shipping of goods. That is how close the hospital was to finishing. Now, the bright ones on the side who said, I am too dull to understand things. I want them to help me to understand how something that was so close to finishing in 2011, after 5 years, found itself so far from finishing. Kimanya ba gite ha presque fini. En 2011, en 2016, il trouve qu'il plus loin fini parce qu'il était jamais avant il était commencé. That is the mandate. That is the operation manual of the St. Lucia Labour Party government. Ou ka ba yo ba ha fini, ou ka defini. Now, Madam Speaker, on these reports, it shows how the price changed, you know. Listen to this. Within the construction period, January to December 2012, a number of site issues have resulted in the need for alteration in the scope of works, as well as various concerns by the hospital operations have resulted in changes to ensure maximum performance. So what they did, Madam Speaker, was that they readjusted the plan for St. Jude's and they increased the price to $76 million. That is in 2012. You know what they did, Madam Speaker, after that? They went again. The estimated cost of the project of infrastructure, 40th November 2015, another $60 million. So, Madam Speaker, every week they review the project. The price going up. Every week. Now, if you look at the entire report, Madam Speaker, the price went, and I want to give it to you, Madam Speaker, so that they don't say I'm saying what I want. Madam Speaker, the price kept on changing. In November, it went to $165,274,010.91. And 6 months later, Madam Speaker, it went up by another $10 million in 2016. Madam Speaker, a hospital that started below $50 million went up to $175 million, and the hospital is no closer to finishing than when it started. Now, Madam Speaker, there was a report prepared. The audit report is not what I'm dealing with. These are not the audit reports, Madam Speaker. These are the reports that I found in the Ministry of Economic Development as far as it relates to project implementation of St. Jude's. So when they will want to tell you, is on the floorboard the price change? The record shows when the price changed in 2012. And that is why I needed to establish this. Because, Madam Speaker, I cannot understand 3 MPs who represent this area all reside in immediate proximity to St. Jude. And none of them, Madam Speaker. For the 5 years I heard them in this house, not a word, not a word, not a word. Every year they gave us, last Christmas, you spending down there. Well, Christmas after Christmas has come and gone. Madam Speaker, there's a study that shows that a brand new 90-room hospital could have been built for $76,000. $76 million, corrected. For $76 million in a different location. Madam Speaker, you know what happened? We went down to St. Jude and the hospital they're talking about. After we have given contracts of $118 million. And it is showing that we have paid out over $82 million. We are struggling to get 68 rooms to open the hospital. We are struggling to get 68 rooms. When I did the site visit, 68 beds. 82 million dollars. They spent more than double the money that was there already. And I heard a member talk about a cross. Of course, they bought a cross for the hospital for $23,000 that we have not been able to find up to now. They bought a 24-carat gold-plated tabernacle. I don't know the price of that one. I cannot find it yet. I pray for the cross. I'm praying to find it. I'm praying to find it. And I believe God will answer my prayer. I will find it where it is. I'll let you know when I found it, when I find it, Honorable. You know, Madam Speaker, these people come and they tell you how well they manage the economy. But Madam Speaker, St. Jude stands out as one of the single biggest disaster projects in this country under the watch of the St. Lucia Labour Party. Because when they terminated the contractor who was on the project, he was on the verge of completing the works. And every single contract that was issued under St. Jude was issued by direct award. I came across 7 contracts issued in 1 year to one individual. And every one of them were direct awards to the tune of almost $24 million. Now I'm not like them. The contractor did not give himself work. So I ain't come in and call his name inside there. I give him a fair chance to defend himself if I'm going to call his name. But if it's my family, you all take liberty and you all mention. I said every one of the projects I have seen under St. Jude was direct award. Every one. Every one I have seen under St. Jude was direct award. So, Madam Speaker, if you don't understand what everyone means, I cannot explain it to you. The budget cost for the implementation of the project was $838,789.44. That was one of the revised estimates. Madam Speaker, we will deal with that in time. That is why I have to change some of the people that you hired. That is why I have to change some of the people that you hired. So, Madam Speaker, the health sector, it's an area that affects all of us. And Madam Speaker, I want to give the people of the South the assurance that we are working towards the completion of St. Jude. This is not a government of excuses. Now, they made a lot of noise about me carrying out an investigation. Madam Speaker, if I had gone and put myself in that melee-melange that is happening down there at St. Jude, what would I be reporting today? As far as I'm concerned, they always say the devil is in the details. Well, I needed to know the details. I needed to understand what I was getting into. Madam Speaker, we inherited a project. Once you change the scope of a project significantly, it requires... And they know that. Once you change more than 10% of the configuration of the project. So you change a whole St. Jude. From Safla Bote plan, they opani PS drawing to St. Jude. So they were building St. Jude just like they were building the center in Viewfort. No DCA approval. But this same government, they're running by every little person who building a little 2x4 to house their family and stopping them. May you have build a whole hospital. Some PSDCA approval. And that's okay. That's good governance. That's good governance under the Labour Party, but that's unacceptable governance under a United Workers' Party government. And we are going to fix that. Now, we've heard about Viewfort. So we went down there. We did a site visit with the doctors at St. Jude. We have identified how we're going to make 70 beds fit into the area. And we are going to partially open the hospital. Now I want to clarify. The partial opening of the hospital does not mean that half of St. Jude will remain at the stadium and the other half on the other side. We are moving the entire St. Jude to the new site, but it will not be at full capacity. Because the initial capacity should have been 115 beds. But I must applaud the staff of St. Jude. They have worked under the most trying conditions.
Honorable Member, I wish to inform you that you have 15 minutes within which to complete your presentation.
Thank you. I will finish, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, St. Jude remains a project. That's not political. I didn't go on a witch hunt to find out anything about anybody. If things are there, you'll naturally find it out. The design is to come up with a hospital that meets accreditation standards, because this UWP government has a plan that is bigger than building a facility. We are going to bring in health insurance for the people of this country. And in order to get health insurance and proper coverage, you must have your hospital facilities properly accredited. You cannot get proper insurance coverage in a facility that is not accredited. I got this St. Jude's. Kolom la mita wad la, la pan pièce kote pou me se couche la. Ek la se doctor a passé, you're in an emergency situation. They cannot maneuver. So we have to condemn the whole bottom and the whole front. Ek yo me se wad la kote ki pan pièce fine. Ek yo me sitting area kote se finet la here. So we have to go and change the sitting area and make it the place for the wards. Because anybody who understands healthcare understands that fresh air is very important to restoring health. Sunlight and fresh air. C'est pas air condition tout seul nous pour bailler à l'hôpital là. Ada se moun ki malade là pas ça même pour air condition. If we go with it as it is, it will not meet the minimum safety standards by the Department of Fire Services. You wanted me to continue this and finish it as it is. Pour demain, pour vle di gay ale lek se sa y fe bay se janvier for. I will give the people of Viewfort a first-class facility that they can be proud of, to say St. Jude is a place that I am proud to go to get the... It will take us time, but we will get there. Now, Madam Speaker, they talk about how we govern. I want to read a quotation from a letter. They talk about the Prime Minister being a dictator, a tyrant, to Mr. Robert Enzo. This has been made a document of the House. But I want to read this to make a point about what's happening in Viewfort. The appointment of a dedicated, now that's a letter signed by the then Prime Minister, Dr. Kenny Anthony. And here's what he promised in the letter. The appointment of a dedicated government project liaison executive within the government department, whose position and authority will be confirmed and accepted by the government and all statutory authorities. Hear this, and I want the persons from the National Trust to listen to. All statutory authorities of St. Lucia to facilitate the approval and execution of the agreements and the license to ensure the timely completion of the overall project, scope of works to be mutually agreed between both parties. Now, if that's all that said, I would not have had a problem. But here's the best part of it, Madam Speaker. That all the timelines within the existing DCA are to be reviewed and amended to commence with the expected start date of your project in a timeline which meets your present expectations. Now the bright fellas explain that to me. So you're going to adjust the DCA, that all the timelines within the existing DCA are to be reviewed. So if it needed 6 months, you can make it 2 weeks, based on the demand of the developer. This UWP government has followed every one of the dictates of the Development Control Authority when it comes to DSH and all of the other projects that are happening. For that matter, the National Trust is a referral agency. And what they had to do was, when the matter was referred to them, Madam Speaker, they were required to write their comments, to give their report, and to say why the Dolphin Park should not go at Pigeon Point and why the development should not take place in Viewfort. You are a referral agency. You cannot be judge, jury, and executioner at the same time. If after you have given your mandate, you have given what your findings are, because this is not an emotional debate. This is not about emotion. This is about a country that is. There are rules that govern what we do in this country, and there are rules that govern the cabinet. There are rules that govern the parliament. But you see, Madam Speaker, they can write their letters. They can sell 4,000 acres of land. They can give them what they want. They can give them a letter that say they will amend the DCA, and not the words, you know, Madam Speaker. It says that all the timelines within the existing DCA are to be reviewed and amended. Not just reviewed. They're telling the developer they're going to amend the timelines to commence with the expected start date of your project, and in line with your present expectations. You give a developer this, and then you want to call my Prime Minister a dictator? You want to call him a tyrant? But you see, when the cabinet gave him the authority to act on their behalf, that must have been what he was doing. Look it. You want to see his signature? It's not his signature. Kennedy Anthony. Prime Minister, and Minister of Finance, Economic Affairs, Planning and Security. So, Minister of Planning is not usurping his authority by writing. If it was our minister who had written that, what would be said? That our minister is overriding the DCA. But the Prime Minister, who's the Minister for Planning, writes to a developer and tells him, I am going to amend all the rules of the DCA and the timelines to meet your timelines and your expectations. And then you want to pretend that you fight in DSH. You know, Madam Speaker, St. Jude happened under the watch of the Minister for Finance. He was the Minister for Economic Development. He's the parliamentary representative for Vieux-Fort South. When the price changed, so it must be Vieux-Fort North and Vieux-Fort South in the same bracket. Abattoir changed from 12 million to 24 million. St. Jude moved from 43 million to how much? 176 million under the Minister of Finance, the then Minister of Finance, Dr. Kenny Anthony. And his heart didn't hurt him for the people of St. Lucia. His heart didn't hurt him for the people who are suffering and the nurses who are working at St. Jude. And they work for how many months without any hot water in the hospital, Madam Speaker? They had to put hot water in a kettle and in a bath pan to wash things at St. Jude Hospital. We have to applaud our nurses. We have to applaud the helpers. We have to applaud the nurse aides. We have to give these people a medal of honor for the great work they have done in saving lives in Vieux-Fort and in St. Lucia, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member, you now have 5 minutes remaining within which to complete your presentation.
I will close, Madam Speaker, because there's a next debate coming. And what I have not, the policies that I have not articulated this time, I will articulate later. But Madam Speaker, I will deal with CDP at the next debate. But Madam Speaker, in closing, I want the people of St. Lucia to know that you have a government who understands management, who understands the value of money, and who understands how to balance a budget. But when you inherited what we inherited, there's no way you can balance a budget in 1 year. This debate, you would see the fiscal position that we have taken, the decisions we have made.
What's the meaning of this in the document? It means development and concessionary agreements, not development control authority. That's what it means. DC on the agreement.
Yes, interpreter. Yes, interpreter.
It means
Madam Speaker,
and concessionary agreements.
in going forward, Madam Speaker, well, it was signed by the Minister of Planning, so you tell me what it means.
It means development and concessionary agreements.
You didn't know about Grindberg, but you know what that one means. You didn't know about Rochamel, you know what that one means. You didn't know about Rochamel, you know what that one means. You know, Madam Speaker, some people will always be second in command. Even if they tell them they are first, they'll be second. So Madam Speaker, in closing the debate, this United Workers' Party, we have brought in a budget of just over 1.5 billion. But that comes nowhere close to really addressing the fundamental issues that affect this country. The bad roads under his watch. The non-repairs of schools. You know, we can talk about roads because I will show you where the drains was built for $1,000 under your watch. 1 meter of drain, $1,000 under your watch. When drains were built $500 under my watch, you criticize me. But 1 meter of drain under your watch cost a meter of drain, not for a road, for a footpath, $1,069. for 1 meter of drain under your watch. So, Madam Speaker, the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, we had to relocate students under his watch. His ministry took the responsibility for repairs to schools, and he allowed the school to deteriorate to the point where we had to relocate the students. That's what you should talk about, your failures as a minister. But Madam Speaker, as we look at the budget, you know, some people just wish they were Prime Minister, but that will just be a wish. I expect somebody to speak after me. I am not sure whether he is real or whether he is his ghost. Because I remember in a previous life, he said over his dead body that some people can never become prime ministers in this country. So when that person speaks, I will be anticipating some kind of reaction, because I am not sure if he's dead or if he's alive, because I see somebody is prime minister. And so, Madam Speaker, I give my full support to this budget, this motion in the estimates of expenditure. And I assure St. Lucians, we will be prudent managers of this budget. And when we come to next year's debate in this House, you will have ample opportunity to challenge us on our performance. I look forward to the next spirit presentation or ghost presentation in this House. I thank you, Madam Speaker.